the old days, they used to call this area Cow Bay Sand because it was noted as Cow Bay one time.
Oh, there's lonesome all over this place until Manhasset. We didn't go out after dark until we were about 10 years old. We were afraid. Just dirt roads and little footpaths.
I remember that. It was a wagon path. One wagon was wide enough to pass one horse and wagon coming up or down.
We didn't have a local good humor man stopping by. We had another man who had a white wooden truck. He had a grill. He would grill hot dogs and sell them to the workers, and we would only buy creamsicles.
Well, at that time, Port Washington had quite a lot of artists and authors. Clarence Buddington Kellen, who wrote for the Saturday Evening Post. He lived up by the post office. Eric Hatch, another well-known writer, he lived up there. Dorothy Canfield.
Yeah, if you get $25 to $30 a week, you was lucky. Yeah, in them days. Oh, God, you could live like a king. Sugar was 5 cents a pound. Pork chops might be 15.
There was no cars in them days. There was a horse and a wagon, or maybe a car come down once every 2 or 3 hours.
We had no electric lights, kerosene lamps. In Sands Point, we didn't have the running water, or we had the old outdoor toilet, and my mother used to have to scrub the clothes with the old washboard thing and all. They had a hard life, but they were none the worst of it.
Port Washington's story is one of sand and sea. It is a step back in time to a period of great wealth and great estates. It is an ageless community born on the backs of those seeking a better life. It is a community preserved in the memories of its people. Port Washington is a waterfront community. It is a peninsula surrounded by Hempstead Harbor, Long Island Sound, and Manhasset Bay. And it is on these waters during the latter part of the 19th century that many made their livelihood.
At that time, they ran the bay and the surrounding waters just like a farm. They leased land from New York State. I think at that time it was about $28 a year for about a 4-acre clam bed. They drove steaks to market. As a boy, I used to go out with old Captain Stubbs. He lived down the street from us, and he'd drag me along. While he was out off Barker's Point tying clams, I'd be sitting up in the bow of the boat with a hand line catching flounders.
In the 40s, you could go out in the Manhasset Bay and catch porgies, blackfish, striped bass, bluefish, fluke, and a number of what we used to call scavenger fish.
In those days, most of these people were frugal, and most of them were pretty poor. There were a few outboard motors around, but they were all owned by the yachtsmen. So most of these fellows had a little sail, a big rowboat with a little sail, and they'd sail out and sail back.
While the baymen of this area made a living digging for clams and other sea life, a different type of digging was taking place not too far away. The hills of Port Washington, it was discovered, contained a high-quality sand which could be used to make concrete.
The quality of the sand in the sand cliffs was found to be ideal for the cement and concrete that went into the sidewalks of New York City. So around the turn of the century, entrepreneurs in the city heard about this quality of sand, which was formed by glacial configurations. And they came and experimented with it, and it turned out that it packed well, it transported well, it held together, and it was ideal for the kinds of uses they were envisioning for the city at the turn of the century.
Sand mining operations sprung up in the 1870s, around the time that New York City was being built. By 1930, 100 million tons of Port Washington sand had been transported into New York.
A scholar at Columbia University estimated that if you took Manhattan from the Battery to 59th Street, from the East River to the Hudson River, up to the size of the Empire State Building, that was the amount of sand that was taken out of these sand pits to build New York City.
The sand attracted thousands of workers from overseas. Immigrants from Italy, Ireland, Germany, Poland, Norway, and Russia helped carve out these huge holes in the earth.
There was a dangerous, laborious, exhausting, draining experience, which left a miner at the end of a day covered in filth, able only to be dunked into the bathtub by his wife, and ready for bed at 8, 7 o'clock at night so that he could be up at dawn the next morning. It was a hard, hard life.
In my days, my younger days around here, if you didn't work in the sandbanks, you didn't work. It was the only thing in this town. It was a place to play and a place for men to work. The sand was a very, very big thing. I remember them working from daylight till dark. No lights was rigged or nothing. And when it got daylight in the morning, they went to work. When it got dark, they stopped. No such thing as an 8-hour day. I used to see my father come home so tired that my brother and I used to have to sit and bathe him. So he'd fall asleep in the tub, and we'd have to go in and bathe him and get him to bed. 4 o'clock the next morning, back to work again. They worked from the time they could see until the time they could no longer see. Then they went home.
Most of them would come home dusty and dirty and come in pretty tired and wash up and sit down for dinner. And accordingly, my father usually would go to sleep. A lot of other men would just visit with each other and then come back.